All right, game one of the NBA Finals is in the books, and we got game two coming up this Sunday. I think it's at 8 p.m. The earlier those games start, the better, man. I just do not like staying up late to watch these games. I like to be in bed. I'm East Coast, man, so I like to be in bed by 10 o'clock. So those 8:30, 9 o'clock starts, man, not the move when you got to work. But anyways, just the rant. The Pacers won this game, and my goodness, like they should not have won. You think about it. I covered that, how the game played out and all of that, and went back and I watched the fourth quarter because that's really where things just, that's how the Pacers pulled this off. The Pacers outscored the Thunder 35-25 in the fourth quarter, and it was tough sledding for the Thunder offense. There was a point I think where the Thunder were outscored like 10-2 or 12-2 within a few minutes time span. They were finding it very difficult to generate offense. And then you look at the players that were on the floor, it was the best offensive players on the Thunder. It wasn't a situation where, coach was like, oh, I got to go with strictly my defensive lineup. I mean, he had his guys in there, the best scorers, right? You had Shea, you had J-Dub, Chet was in there. There were stretches where you saw Caruso. Obviously, defensively, he brings you quite a bit to the table, and then Dort. But they had all their guys in. But something I noticed, and he's there on the screen, number 22 from the OKC, something that I think the Thunder really dropped the ball on. They had this matchup, and it wasn't Lou Dort, and it wasn't Alex Caruso, but those two guys were on the floor. Something that the Pacers did was they didn't call timeout. And when they got the missed shot, they got the stop. They were down by one. They pushed the ball up the floor. It found its way to Tyrese Halliburton. By not calling a timeout, you don't give the Thunder the opportunity to play matchups. You don't get the Thunder the opportunity to kind of anchor in the defense, settle in, and put their defense in the best position to get the stop. That was brilliant. This is just another thing that the coaching staff for the Pacers, namely Rick Carlisle, continues to hit every single time. Every button he pushes frickin' works like a master, right? Everything he's done this playoffs has been phenomenal. It's all worked out, and I forget who the lady is, but she seems to be very active at timeouts. They're making adjustments, especially in the second half, right? Like you saw the first quarter, OKC came out 29-20, right? The Pacers were having a hard time scoring. They were turning over the ball. Oh my God, right? I think they had 8 or 9 turnovers in the first quarter. It didn't really improve in the second quarter. I think they had another 8 or 9. I think they had 18 at halftime, right? And then to kind of round out the game, just looking at the second half, I mean, things were very, very different. They had 24 in the game, but they had like 18 or 19 in the first half. So they played an entire second half only getting about 4 or 5 turnovers. So in the second half, when things are so critical, they put it together. And I want to talk about this late game execution. A lot of people are saying that the Thunder lost this game. Yeah, I mean, you could say that because they had a double-digit lead, right? They had a 10, 12-point lead. But guys, a 10 or 12-point lead is nothing to the Pacers. A 16-point lead is like the Thunder could have been up by 18. And I truly believe the Pacers would have found their way to close that lead to a single possession. And of course, they have the closer in Tyrese Halliburton. They have the players who believe in themselves, believe in their process, believe in their philosophy, their coach, their scheme, and themselves, right? The self-belief, the fact that they can overcome everything. Like they have been in huge deficits throughout this playoff run. They have come back from 20 points, 18, 16, 12. They've done it in 5 minutes, 8 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes. They've done it on all these different levels. And something that has to be said as they go into game 2. The Thunder didn't play a great game. They actually didn't shoot very well at all. And there's a lot to be said about Chet Holmgren's lack of impact, both defensively and offensively, actually. And the inability of Jalen Williams to make an impact offensively. Very, very weak performance, I think, according to his standards. He's an all-pro player. He's an all-star. You just need better than 6 of 19 from the field, you know? The Thunder were in a position to win. I felt like Shea did enough to put him in a position to win. I was a little upset with him passing the ball away with that 22 seconds, getting it to J-Dub and trying to get points that way. I feel like you got to be the one, you know what I mean? I don't really have too much blame outside of that for SGA, but I do think that's something worth critiquing. But guys, the Pacers did not play a good game. In fact, they played a pretty bad game for a large majority of the game. The first quarter was bad for them. The third quarter was an improvement, but they were still down by 9 points, I think, going into the fourth. So, you played an entire game in the NBA Finals. You played horribly. If you know the Pacers, just look at the turnovers. And you found a way to win. So, if I'm the Thunder, oh, hell yeah, I got concerns. Hell yeah, there's things I got to fix. You know, they shot, what, 45%? We shot 40%, you know, in terms of as a team, or something along those lines. 3-point percentage, I think the OKC Thunder were like 36, which is, you know. But the Pacers got it going in the second half, and they ended up finishing the game 46% from 3. So they were sinking them in the second half. They weren't shooting very well in the first half. But that means they were shooting over 50% in the second half. Because I know they were shooting like 30% in the first half. So tons of turnovers. The Pacers should not have been in this game, but they somehow found their way. Guys, the Pacers can win in a whole bunch of ways. I've completely shifted my mind around this concept that the Pacers can win any way. They can win ugly. They can win pretty. They can win with pace. When the game slows down, they're still finding ways to score at the end of those games. Their defense is just as good as the Thunder. Now, maybe not statistically. Maybe they don't have the shutdown, lockdown couple of guys. But they clearly play like NBA Finals championship level defense. They're right here. They're here. They won the first game in Oklahoma City. Heavy underdogs. Down double-digit points throughout extended parts of the game. They found a way to win after turning over the ball 24 times, 18-plus times in the first half. These guys are tried and true. They are not to be questioned anymore. The fact that the Pacers played so poorly and found a way to win is a small miracle. But you know what? That's this team. That's how they do things. And they got the closer in Tyrese Halliburton. They truly believe that if they got a chance to get it close at the end of the game, that they can win. And I don't think any lead is safe. Unless the Thunder jump out to like a 30-point lead at some point in a game, I don't know if that's enough outside of that, right? You really got to get ahead of these guys. And the Pacers, you know, you look at the coaching staff and their calls, they're calling timeouts, right? They're making adjustments, they're stopping the runs. They're doing their part to prevent those big leads from happening. We've seen the Thunder rip off huge, you know, chunks of points, you know, in different points in the playoffs. But this is pretty crazy. The Pacers are real, folks. They absolutely are. I overlooked them before. I can't do that anymore. I'm not saying I'm going to change my pick. I still have the Thunder for now winning the series, you know, but stealing game 1 in OKC the way that they did, I mean, if you're the Thunder, you obviously, now you know, no lead is safe with these guys. This is going to be a long series.